My hey y'all, I'm here. Back, Real Housewives of Miami, episode 2. Alright, so here's the thing. Alright, so where we at? So we pick up where we left off last, which is Johnny, which is Alexia assistant, shows her and Marisol the picture of the guy pretty much that her ex-husband, dead husband, was allegedly messing around with, okay? Then they show all of these pictures and talk about how he got a big penis. I mean, don't be fooled, is all I'm saying. And then he texts the guy saying that Alexia wants to meet up, and he said, yeah, he's on vacation right now, but when he comes back, boom, they can hook up and they can meet. Cool. Then we go over to Larsa, and I want to say that this entire scene, her nipple was showing the whole time. They had to have that little glare or little blur out the whole time she was on screen. And like, did nobody say to her, Larsa, fucking pull up your stuff? I don't know. So again, we're back on this whole OnlyFans thing. Bravo is funny as hell. When they put up, because Larsa was like, I didn't want to do, OnlyFans at the time because I didn't feel like it fit my brand. Larsa, what was your brand? What in your head is your brand, Larsa? Because OnlyFans, prior to celebrities being on it, absolutely matches your brand. Just saying. Anyway, so she talks, but Bravo is funny because when she said, oh, that didn't match my brand until I seen other celebrities doing it, they put up Ray J and going to say $0 just joined. Hilarious. So then they go real fast to the confessionals and ask the girls like what they think about her doing OnlyFans. And Adriana says she already does on her Instagram. I said, facts, she pretty much does. And then Lisa was like, I mean, I don't think she takes off all her clothes, so I don't really see the point. In them DMs, she doing some things in them DMs. That's all I'm going to say, okay? So, Snow, go sit down. Sorry, I'm talking to my dog. Sit down. So, then Larsa's talking to her friend and she's talking about how OnlyFans is a great place to meet people. And I'm like, no, they're not a good place to meet people for you to date. They're good for you to meet sugar daddies because for them to talk to you, that means that they have to pay. So that means they have to pay to talk to you. So you want to make sure that they have a certain amount of money. That's what it's good for. It's good for sugar daddies. Okay. I don't understand why Larsa just won't sit in what it is that let's just keep going. So then she talks about men and their feet obsession and how she makes a lot of bank on them. And one of the CEOs that follow her on OnlyFans got into something and she felt so bad and was so concerned. So she just sent him a foot video. I'm like, girl. And she's like, I'm in a relationship with 200 plus people. Girl, you like that shit. Cut the shit. You like that shit. So then I believe they was at Prime 112. I think that's the restaurant that they was at. So this is focusing on Lisa. So Lisa and her husband, Lenny, goes in. And when they walk in, they see Larsa. Larsa's on a date with somebody. So Lisa and Lenny, which is her husband, sits down. And she was like, oh, happy 55th birthday. And he was like, it's my 56th birthday. And you could tell he was so annoyed, like, when she said that. She was like, oh, my gosh, it is. And I'm like, uh-oh, yo. So put it like this. This entire dinner just pretty much showed that I feel like Lisa is trying to portray something that's not really happening. Because at the very end of this segment, right, of this whole dinner with her husband, she's like, I have the perfect husband and I have the perfect children. And, so my life is just, and it's like, girl, no, it's not. It's not. You could tell that Lenny is, I don't know what the disconnect is, but Lenny is not feeling her when she's like, isn't the spark there, honey? Isn't the spark there? It's just like she's trying too hard and he's looking at her like, girl, you know damn well you doing all of this stuff and that's not how it is between us. It's very much so we cool. I don't hate you, you don't hate me. But stop, like, why are you putting on... you could tell Lenny is annoyed. That whole thing, especially at the end when she was like, I have the perfect husband, the perfect children. It's like, girl, no, you don't. And that's okay because ain't nobody shit perfect. Whew, I'm living my best life. Yeah, okay. So Then we go to Gertie, learn a little bit more about her. Her husband's name is Russell, and he's a firefighter. I said, okay, so that definitely means she brings in the most money. Ain't nothing wrong with that. Was their high school sweethearts. And like I think I said on the last episode, on last review, they showed a picture of him from high school. I was like, you definitely look like one of the white boys that pretty much only date like black girls or the girls with low color in it. So I get it, got it. They got 2 kids, 13 and 8. That's that. Then we go over to Julia and Adriana. Now they go to this storage place. And come to find out, Julia's wife paints. And she paints with like her tennis balls. She just throws them at the canvas or, does whatever. And Adriana wants to put on a showcase for her in 2 weeks. So as we know, Adriana, when we first met her, she was working in art and she's still doing the same things 10 years later. There was a lot of flirting. There was a lot of flirting going on between Julia and Adriana. Adriana was like, we have this, I don't know, this je ne sais quoi, okay? I don't know what it is, but it's like a deep and special connection. I'm like, and then Julia said something about Adriana, like, don't move your lips like that. I said, y'all might as well just bump the cats. Bump the cats, let Julia's wife watch, or maybe even join, and everybody could just go home. Y'all might as well just bump cooches and go. Just bump cooches. I don't got time for this. We ain't gonna do this all season. Bump cooches and that's it. So then we go over to Alexia and Todd. They go out to eat. We learn a little bit about him. He's a realtor. He's 6 years her junior. And the most I get out of that is that Peter, which is Alexia's oldest son, and Todd used to work together, but they do not get along anymore. That's that. Let's see. Dr. Nicole talks about wanting to have a party. Now, when she's talking to her husband, she's like, well, what happens if somebody says, like how long we've been married? And he was like, well, why would somebody say that? And he was like, well, you introduced me as your wife. He said, exactly. So if I say that, why would somebody ask me that? He was like, just because. And then again, in her confession, she's like, I'm not worried about it. Like Oprah and Stedman, they're not married. And it's like, this is how I look at it. You obviously care, girl. Or if it's not that maybe you care, I don't even think maybe necessarily that Dr. Nicole cares maybe necessarily about getting married, but I think she cares about the perception of what it looks like for her to not be married. That's what I think Dr. Nicole is worried about. I think if it was just her boo, and her child, and nobody else had any questions or anything, she'd be perfectly fine staying how they are. But I think she's very concerned and worried about the fact that people look at her and be like, oh, well, why aren't you married? Why aren't you married? Why aren't you married? And that bothers her. That's what bothers her. She act like it don't, but it do. Oh, I ain't got much time because my thing is about to die. So then Gertie, Marisol, and Alexia, they go to this venue that Gertie wanted to show. They talk about Peter walking her down the aisle. The venue was terrible. Hated that church. Next, Alexia and Peter. Peter is 29. Now, Peter lived in Paris, but he is now back living in downtown Miami. He's going through divorce. You can tell he's going through divorce because Peter just looks completely disheveled, like he just don't want to get out of bed or nothing. He looks a mess. Now, Alexia brings up him walking her down the aisle. But it's right before his birthday, so he said he might not be there. And he's like, just because you're starting a new life with your stepkids and all this other stuff, that doesn't mean I have to be a part of your bullshit. I said, oh, he sounds like a little kid because he hurt because his mama moving on and because he's going through a divorce too. That's what it gives me. Then we go to the party. It was a nice setup, but the lady, I ain't gonna lie, I'm with Larsa. That lady that was dressed up in like the Asian stuff at the table, very fucking weird. Come to find out, Gertie and Nicole are pretty close. Larsa comes in and brings up to Marisol what was said to Kiki. I'm glad that was not made a big deal because it wasn't. Who gives a fuck? Marisol apologizes to Kiki about what was said, and that was that on that. Alexia asks Dr. Nicole's husband about them getting married, and he said, like, well, we're official enough. We don't have to be. And Alexia was like, I believe every woman deep down wants to be married, so I don't want to hear the bullshit. So then finally, good, because my thing's about to die. So finally, Alexia tells the girls, not all of them, but a few of them, like Marisol and them and Adriana, about what really happened between Peter and Todd, her fiance. So apparently, one day Alexia was coming home with Todd, I think, and they saw Peter outside smoking weed, and Frankie was smoking with him too. Now, she said it wasn't that big of a deal to me that they were smoking. I'm going to assume that she's probably seen Frankie smoke before, so it probably wasn't a big deal. She's like, it's legal out here. Who cares? They say that it helps, with certain brain things. So, we ain't thinking nothing of it. Go upstairs, everything cool. She said they go and they sit down for dinner, and Frankie straight hits the damn light just flat, boom. And it was like, what the fuck is going on? So then Peter had to pretty much resuscitate him. It was like a whole big fucking thing. And I guess in the midst of that, or sometime around that, I guess Todd must have said some really hurtful things to Peter. And I'm going to assume maybe about like that whole thing. But the way I look at that, it says to be continued at the end. But the way I look at that, that doesn't sound to me like that's necessarily Peter's fault. And on top of that, Todd, like I understand that you're getting married to Alexia, but that's not your fucking kid. And on top of that, Peter's a grown ass man. Those are two different things. That's not your child. Neither one of them are your kids. And number two, Peter is a grown ass man. So there's only but so much you want to be talking to him about, especially when that's his fucking brother and all of that shit that they've been through together as a family. You're going to have to watch your mouth and take a couple steps back, because certain things ain't your motherfucking place, especially if you, and I don't remember if Alexia said her and Todd, but if y'all both came in seeing them smoke, you can't turn around and say to Peter, well, like, oh, that's your fault. Let me say something. My boyfriend, this happened to his brother years ago, maybe like 5-6 years ago. His brother was in a room, and his brother was a smoker. Smokes down. But one time he was in a room amongst a whole bunch of people. He smoked and completely passed the fuck out. And it was because he had smoked way too much and some other shit that was going on too. And it had really like messed him up and took him like a while to get back to like his normal self. So that's not unheard of. But if Todd, and I don't know, because we'll see what he said to be continued. But if Todd came out of nowhere, I won't say came out of nowhere, but if Todd just started like blaming Peter or talking bad to him or whatever, that's a motherfucking problem. And if I was Peter, I'd have an issue with that too. Because you got to learn your place around here, homie. Okay? But y'all get in the comments, tell me what y'all think. I'm out. Bye.